You're listening to From a Certain Point Askew, the only Star Wars podcast to carry neighbor Cole, the Hutt, 2 houses down to record since his surgery. Welcome to the house. Welcome, neighbor Cole from Corellia.
Yeah, you didn't have any litter parking out front, so I was wondering if you could maybe
I'm trying to get one. They're on their back order right now.
designate a space.
Yeah, it's kind of become a popular thing.
Do you think for Halloween we should do that for our maybe
Just walk through the neighborhood
costume, have the kids carry us on a litter?
Oh, we'll be the Hutts?
You and I will be the Hutts. Okay. Either you and I or you and Kyle. You choose.
Okay. All right. And then, our weakest kid will be the one in the center where it bows and just fucking killing them.
Just holding them up with a single point.
Yeah.
You have to wipe your brow with a kitten.
Just have a bowl of kittens.
There's an
my
abundance
sweat.
of cats in the neighborhood. I don't know if you guys have listened to it.
No, we're down kittens. Let's not talk any more about them because they're like fucking gremlins, man. You bring them up and all of a sudden there's new ones around here.
Feed them after midnight.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me down. Maybe next time salt your driveway because my litter had a little trouble getting up.
All right, my bad. So, I should say that I am Jason the Ginger Jedi Guy. If you've never listened to this show before, we do broadcast live from Wookiee Poo Studios, and there's a whole bunch of Retro Scum, Scoundrels, and Smugglers. I've already introduced neighbor Cole, and you get to say whatever and introduce the other Darth Mathias fella.
Whatever. That's what I'm going to say. We do have a third micer. His name is Darth Mathias, but I like to call him affectionately Mart because he's my best friend.
Can I ask real quick where that come from? I forget the origin to Mart.
Mart was the guy from Rebels. Nope.
Yep,
Rebels. He was the guy from Corellia, had the wannabe Millennium Falcon, remember? I think
okay. It was like it was the mirrored version of that crew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep, I remember.
And I affectionately call him Mart because I pretend like I don't like him, but I really do like him. So he grows on you.
Yeah.
But hey, welcome to the show, Matt.
Hey, Scugholes. How's it going?
Scughole's doing good.
Yeah, his name is Mart Matten. So it's not Matt Martin. It's Mart Matten. That's that guy. And he kind of grew on Cole a little bit because by the end of Rebels, he's he's doing some good shit. So
that's right. Yeah, he's sort of he's stuck with the group.
He was part of the Purgle plan, remember?
Mm-hmm.
At the end?
Mm-hmm.
He was on it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. How is the recovery going, Cole? Are you back to what %?
Oh, I'm sitting around 85, 90, I'd say right about now.
I think you're full of shit.
Yeah, I got like a tickle in my throat where I've been coughing about 4 days after my surgery. And then I had a bit of a fever that night too. I don't know if it's just my body.
So you did get a staph infection.
I got this big, like, veiny thing coming down my leg.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me?
It's green, and it's running through my veins. It looks like, I don't know, maybe...
It's probably healthy. I wouldn't go to the doctor and have it checked out.
Smells like Famunda cheese.
Okay.
No. So, but yeah, it's hard to cough because every time I cough, my lower abdomen, like, has, like, a fit.
Right.
But I've been doing okay. I've been holding up. I'm not one to complain.
Do you wake up, like, every morning when you wake up, do you poke it to see if it still hurts or not?
There's like
just do a good test.
I think they did a glue and then they did the stitches that dissolve because there's 3 incisions or 3 parts, like the one on my lower abdomen, like right above my pelvis, like on the underside of your belly almost, like where your pants would rest. That one's gone. Like that's just a scar now. And then I've got 2 incisions up top that are still have like stitches in them. And my sister's like, "Let me see your." She went to the wrestling meet last night, so I showed her my wound. And she's a nurse, and she's like, "Yeah, those will dissolve eventually." But I thought I had to have my stitches removed at one point from the console.
Yeah, they don't. Not too much. They don't do that anymore, right?
I guess not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you can just lick them right off.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get a cat and have him come over and lick my wound.
Well, take any one of them and take them home.
You guys have any rentals or good deals on Bacta tanks that I can get into? Maybe
those things aren't cheap. They're not cheap.
No, they're not.
Apparently, you can fit a Gamorrean in them, though.
We'll get to that. If we are a Star Wars podcast, by the way, in case anybody hadn't figured that out yet. If you would like to find our show, we're at FromACertainPointAskew.com. You can find us on Twitter at FACPAPod, and you can email, as some people did, and we'll get into that later, FACPAPod@gmail.com. We're part of the Podawan Podcast Network at Podawans on Twitter. And a reminder that we are doing a giveaway over the course of the Book of Boba season. So that if you tweet about the show, if you email the show, or if you write a review and let us know about it, we will get you some entries to win a custom lightsaber from Dave, a.k.a. Darth Flamingus. I should probably tally up where we are on that front. I got some work ahead of me to go back and make sure I'm getting everybody's entries correct. So I'll work on that. And we will announce that winner on the episode after we wrap up Book of Boba. And there will be a second and third place prize that gets some merch from the show.
I don't know if you'll edit it out or not, but I just had a stroke, but it came back to me. I was going to say we should do a thing where we give off so many points if a listener brings in a new listener.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Double entry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to prove it somehow, though. You got to give me some sort of proof so I know.
I think that's a good idea.
They can give you a shout out like, hey, how'd you hear about us when you fill out your...
That's a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Idea.
I love it. More points for both of you.
How many fake friends do you think Mike Laybourne will create in order to...
I'll be sending these like 0 follower Twitter accounts.
He purchases a bunch of bots for each one, so he's got followers. He spends more on having fake followers for all these accounts than it would for him to go buy his own lightsaber.
buys a burner phone from
exactly.
the Shell station.
On the show today, we've got a question of the week. When Tatooine was wet is the topic. On the news, we've got Disney Plus spinoff series rumors. The Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa is our big chit-chat today. And we'll go into the Maul Bag. There's 3 emails from you folks that listen. Thank you. And we'll round the show off with a FACPAtoid before we say sayonara suckers till next week. So I guess without further ado.
Question of the week, Cole?
Yes, this week's question of the week was, what do you guys think is the cause of the oceans on Tatooine drying up? Do you think it was global warming, watermongers, maybe an asteroid? Do you have any theories?
I think it was just 2 suns warming that shit up.
2 suns?
Yeah.
One for each of you?
It was just like a lot of evaporation going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the sun's dried it up.
Yeah.
Matt?
I'm just assuming the Jawas sold it all because those guys are sneaky. And they sell everything. So they probably did it at some point. By the way, it was funny because when I was watching this episode, which we'll get into in a minute, there was a side scene where Boba comes across them and Mos Eisley. And I was thinking the sound of them like whispering, the little like, that is such a weird, like nostalgic boost for me when it comes to Star Wars. I think because I heard it so early on in that watching A New Hope.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear it, I'm just excited. Like it gets me so excited hearing Jawas whisper in the shadows. I love it.
Like erect?
Not quite there.
Oh, okay.
Just happy, just a grin.
Okay.
A wink and a smile.
Childlike glee.
Yeah, there you go.
And I've watched it on my kids' faces in theaters when Wookiee does a certain Wookiee howl, like the Chewbacca howl, or Chewie does a certain sound.
Yeah.
Like I think it comes up in episode 3. Chewie will do a good one. There was one in this episode.
Yes.
You heard it probably, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And my kids will just be like, they'll like perk up and look over at me, Chewie. I was like, yeah, that's him. You guys got it. So it's kind of cool. It's weird how those things trigger you. The Wilhelm scream is another one.
Of course.
Like when a stormtrooper goes over the edge. It kind of brings you full circle to your childhood.
Yeah. Did you have any other theories?
I had a theory. I think that the water, I believe, was probably used for the dental rinsing for... Morrison's
a lot of salt
teeth.
water brushing.
Still banging on those teeth.
Oh man!
I feel like the dentist just came in and just drained the entire fucking supply, rinsing, getting the plaque removal, rinsing again. How many times can that guy spit?
I feel like they get bigger every episode. Like it's like the Matt Dillon in There's Something About Mary.
Yeah.
I feel like he's like, his time spent in the Sarlacc pit is like maybe made him a little bit mentally impaired because he's sitting there just petting that fucking Rancor like, I like this thing. Like
he loves that thing.
He does seem a little subdued for a guy that was a fearless bounty hunter. Like he's always like checking Fennec. Like, well, that was a little over.
Bit heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's had that like near-death experience. He's a changed man to a degree.
Okay. You think like with age comes chill? So he's just like, we can handle this another way. We don't always have to use fisticuffs.
I think it's a little age, but also just given what he went through and then his experience that we saw with the Tuscans and all that, I think his perspective has changed a little bit because that's what I think some people are getting mad about with the series. There's a lot of things people are getting mad about with the series, but one of them being like, he's not a badass anymore. He's this other kind of different character. And I think it's probably because he went through a change. The character changed.
Yeah. Yeah,
that does happen.
Very much so. We're seeing that right now. Yeah. He's going through his Game of Thrones phase right now.
It's like Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven. I was temperate in my youth.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He says.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Back-to-back weeks with Unforgiven references. Nicely done.
I did too. What was my last week's?
Last week was talking about shooting doves or something. They were shooting doves.
Oh, yeah. English Bob.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, some things.
Something about you wanted to sleep naked with Gene Hackman.
Yeah,
there was something about that too.
That was it. God, who wouldn't? that poor guy. That guy. The fact that his last movie was the Mooseport movie is just sad.
I know.
It's like, God, that's where you went on. You went out on.
Yep.
With Ray Romano.
He was like, that's a good one. He's like, I think it's time to call it quits. There's no more Lex Luthor roles coming for me. What would be the last great Gene Hackman movie?
Crimson Tide. He was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Hell, he was good in that movie with Will Smith.
I was just gonna say Enemy of State.
Yeah.
I really liked him in that. He was really funny in was it called The Heartbreakers?
Yeah.
Where he was like a chain smoking whatever, and Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt are sort of like con women.
Uncommon Valor. He was really good in that.
I never saw that.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze as well.
He's always good.
Yes.
He's a great actor.
It's sad to see him go. Well, leave the film world. He's still alive. He posted a picture of himself last week saying, "Hey, I'm still around, everybody." And was he 93?
He's 90 something because he kind of came on the scene a little bit late. Like by the time he was in Bonnie and Clyde, he was already in like mid 30s or something. I think.
Man, good actor, great actor.
News. So just one news item, and that is the kind of some spin-off series rumors. So the hashtag show, which I don't know, I think at one point I sent this in a DM to Jay, and he's like, "I'll check it out."
Mm-hmm.
They had this rumor about Bo-Katan getting her own spin-off series, and that it would come after the season 3 of Mando. And then what was interesting about it is they tweeted that out, and then Ming-Na Wen, aka Fennec Shand, she retweeted it, was like, "Way to go, girl! Like, congratulations!" And then she deleted the tweet, which made you think, okay, so was she just like, because I don't know if this is legit or not. It could be, but was she just like going along with it based on what she read, or did somebody say, "Hey, no, we're not going to talk about that right now," and she had to like remove the tweet immediately? I don't know.
She's obviously an uber pop culture geek. So to me, being friends with the person and also seeing like, she's probably not in the know. Like they're not calling her and letting her know every time a series gets picked up. So she probably saw it and was like, "Oh, that's cool. Congrats." But I looked around. I did not see, there's nobody else talking about this.
Right. And that's what I was looking for too. Is there any other scuttlebutt going on out there about it?
And it was, I sent you, was it Jordan Mason? Somebody sent something and they were like, they basically made a fucking joke out of it.
Well, they made the Pelimoto joke. They said somebody put out the Pelimoto has a new series coming, and then he put his source was, and so I didn't read the source the first time, and then I reread it, and his source was Dixie Normus.
Yes.
So, but back to the Bo-Katan thing.
Yeah.
Would you want to see that series? Again, I want to see it all. I liked her character. But to me, I'm also wondering, well, isn't season 3 of Mandalorian supposed to be kind of covering some of the stuff we would be potentially seeing with Bo-Katan? Or unless it's a go-back series, you know?
Well, that's what we're under the impression, but I guess they could carry on with his own story. Because it seems to be like that's where it's going to end, right? Like, like in the Clone Wars, every 9 episodes, they'll pick up on a Mandalorian type 3-episode arc, and then they'll leave it alone for a season. So I suppose they could flesh things out if they gave her own show, right?
Could be.
I mean, I'm not against it. I think it's a cool character. I definitely think we'd see some cool shit.
Well, particularly because, they could go back and show some stuff with her and Satine.
Right.
All that kind of thing. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of options to do there because she's been a part of so many different series and her character's been all over the place. And Jay just got stepped on with claws by a cat in his balls. Yep. That was pretty interesting to watch.
Yep. Climbed right up the leg.
They also, the same people, the hashtag show, had also mentioned that there's going to be a Kira series. And I'm like, they're just throwing out every series, which is why I think the Pelimoto thing came out. Because the Kira series, I could sort of see, although I still feel like she's going to show up in the show that we're watching now.
Well, it seems like, if there's a war coming, is it just going to be between the Pikes, or is there, are we going to get more of the syndicates, right?
Right.
So, I actually, I guess we'll get to it in the show, but I thought that's who was going to walk off the ship at the end.
Kira?
I was waiting for, I really thought she was going to come walking off the bridge there.
Yeah, that would have.
Yep.
Fucking pikeys.
Pikeys. Well, we can get into, that was it for news. We can get into the Book of Boba stuff now. I'll just start by saying there were some good bits in this chapter, but it definitely felt like a setup for the rest of the season. That the first episode was kind of the setup of where, catching him up. The second episode took that further to kind of give you basically the run up all the way to where we see him in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And now this is kind of setting up post Mandalorian and what's going to happen going forward. Don't you think? Like it was throwing a lot of things, a lot of storylines out there to follow. So I'm hoping that means that like the second half of this season is going to really, much like those speeders, really kick it into gear, go high speed, like that chase scene.
Yeah. We're gonna go 5 more miles an hour.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that's the case. Like I have high hopes for episode 4, chapter 4, because I think they've laid the groundwork that this thing should just start taking off now.
Well, I've got the feeling that the flashbacks are maybe done. I'm not sure 100%.
No, I don't think so, because I think
maybe?
we're going to find out a little bit more about that biker gang and the Pikes and the relationship that leads him to where he is now, I think.
I agree. I think that they laid a little bit of that. They're planted a little bit of that seed with the Pikes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but I think there's more to share there. And also there's a chance that they're going to show flashbacks of a totally different era of him as well. Like there was a whole rumor about like, because, is it Daniel Logan? Is that his name, right? Oh my God.
I love how I stayed quiet and you fuckers hurt.
Oh, you should have seen your face.
Fucking A.
I wish I had that on video. Holy
It's like a cougar
shit.
attack. That fucker came up.
It is funny.
There is a cat running wild in the studio, and it jumped up and like literally grabbed onto Jay's
It
back.
climbed me like a mountain. These fucking cats, they think they're parrots. They have to get up on my shoulder, and they'll sit perched on my shoulder and sometimes lay across the back.
He was going for the back of your neck.
Yeah,
That was a fucking cougar move.
God, that was
good.
crazy.
Just fucking like a gazelle. Just takes me down.
Well, just two of us now. Keep recording.
Yep. The show must go on.
Oh, my
Kyle, what
God.
are you doing next weekend?
Yeah.
We need a third month.
Anyway.
Where were we before I was assaulted?
Yeah, I don't remember where we were. But essentially...
Flashbacks, you were talking about.
Daniel Logan. So Daniel Logan, people are wondering, like, are they going to do any sort of flashback showing him more at a younger age and use Daniel Logan as the actor instead of de-aging Tamura? So that's a possibility.
Okay. Yeah.
But we'll see.
How old would he be now? Is he like a teenager or
Daniel
Tamura?
Logan's
20s?
like 30.
Or Daniel
Okay.
Logan, yeah. He's got to be. Because he
played
was
the
Attack of
kid?
the Clones was 18,
Yeah.
19 years, 20 years ago. Shit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's probably like 32, I would guess. I don't know. The only other thing I was going to mention is just that I really want to see more Fennec. So I'm hoping that we get more action going forward. I like her character, and they're just not giving her enough to do.
Right. They really aren't. She's just got like that stoic fucking look, and she's got a couple things she does or says, and that's really it. And you're right. Like I thought about it when he lands with the jetpack. I was like, oh, good, he uses it. And then I'm thinking, he's not done anything but fucking walk and sit. And like the budget kind of shows that, and I'm really wondering if like the setup was this, and then now we're gonna, because even this fucking
something better,
high speed fucking chase that we're seeing, like it doesn't even, like, you just had Solo out 3 years ago, and it looks nothing like that.
No.
Like you don't buy the speed, you don't buy the close quarters of anything. Like this idiot's fucking like driving like he's never drove a car before.
They look like they're driving bumper cars at one point. They're just so like wonky. They're like moving super slow.
That's the problem with it. It wasn't the speed as much as it didn't look real.
And they looked like almost oversized, like rascal scooters.
Well, I get the idea behind it is, George Lucas was a big like hot rod 1950s, 60s kind of guy.
It's an American graffiti nod of sorts.
Yes, I mean that fits. I can accept that, especially after the fucking 1950s diner thing in the Attack of the Clones, was it? Right?
Yes,
Coruscant.
Yeah.
Yes, so
when
like
he visits, yeah, and even. And we'll talk about more when we get there, but even they're like modifying their bodies and stuff. I'm cool with that. It's just a new idea. Somebody doing something. That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you see the image I posted on Twitter? I think it was Wikipedia said like, explain what you think of this latest episode with a GIF or whatever, but don't spoil it. And I posted a picture of like a kid's carousel with motorbikes.
It
looked just fucking like
I fucking
that.
laughed. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, like those old school ones that would go around on a little track.
Yes.
Or whatever.
It just was bizarre. But anyway.
We do have to remember that this, as much as we complain about things, that tends to be the shit the younger audience gets attracted to, right?
Yeah, could be.
So they got to kind of feed an all ages group at some point. It just doesn't always land for.
And I'm all for them trying stuff, like don't make it stale and like you have to do it a certain way because that's how it's always been done. Tried new stuff, I get that, but that chase scene was really tough. That was easily the toughest part of this episode. There was other stuff that I enjoyed, but that part was like, ugh.
I think had it been shot at night, but then it would have looked too much like Solo in that scene. But maybe it would have gave, because the bikes, well, the color and one thing, but like they don't. What's the group called?
Do they have a name? I just was referring to them as like the street kids.
Yeah, they are. They weren't named. I was looking for it too. Yeah, they were just like a group of teens. I don't know. He calls them street punks. Milton from fucking from The Office. What's his name?
Office Space.
Stephen Root.
Lortha Peel was a watermonger.
Yeah.
So let's just break down the episode going forward.
Right.
Like start at the beginning.
Well, and right away we get like this historical breakdown of a question we were asking before, which was how did Bib Fortuna hold this territory together?
Right.
You know, and why were the Hutts not coming after it before? And so basically it's explained by 8D8, the torture droid.
Who thinks that Jabba is Voldemort, apparently. He who will not be said or named or whatever. It's like, why not?
I didn't want to offend you. When Jabba died, he says it creates a power vacuum. Bib takes over his throne, but then the city is essentially divided into 3 sections. And one of them is the Trandoshans kind of control the city center, which is probably why we see so many of them when they're like going to see the mayor. They're just hanging out down there. That's their area. And then it's the Aqualish or Aqualish, I don't know how you say it. They have the workers district, which we'll get to here in a minute with our street gang. And the Klatooinians control kind of, I guess, like the upper part, like the cliffs above and the spaceport. So it sounded like Bib was kind of holding it together with duct tape. I mean, he was paying off the mayor. He was in over his head. Frankly, Boba might have done him a favor.
Right. Someone's going to shoot him. Miles has just been him.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So then he comes in. His vassal comes in. His name is Lortha Peel. He's a watermonger. And he comes in complaining about
his red stapler.
Yeah, his red stapler. And how he's going to burn the entire place down. He didn't get a piece of cake. He was awfully upset.
It was that, or I was thinking about him as Fuchs in Barry.
Yes, that's all I see him as now.
I need that show to come back.
Yep.
No, yeah. So he comes in. He's like just complaining that this biker gang has been like robbing him of all of his water, and that if he never had to deal with this under Jabba the Hutt, and basically tells Boba Fett, well, no one really respects you, right? Like kind of just calls him out, and Fennec wants to be like, let's just plug this motherfucker right here. Boba's like, no, let him talk. So yeah, like I don't know. He comes in and he's like, if you'll take care of this little problem for me, I'll double my tribute to you. Right?
Yeah,
that's kind of the scenario.
So he's gonna get 2 gallons of water.
Yep.
Well, then we get to see Mos Espa at night, which at first I saw that opening shot come in. I was like, well, this is cool because we haven't seen this yet.
Yeah.
And then when they're walking in to kind of the street scene, I was like, this is nice. I like what they're setting up here. And then we meet the street gang, that's when we see the bikes. That's when we see these new characters, which I wrote it down and I'm trying to remember. Maybe it's later that I have it, but it's like Drash is the Sophie Hatcher. Is that her name?
Okay.
Cal?
Yeah.
And I can't remember the other guy's name, the guy with the eye. But essentially, he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? Where'd you get that water? Like, we stole it, And so they explain to him they're getting hosed by the watermonger because he's charging them exorbitant prices. And then they also were like, and by the way, we don't have jobs because there's no jobs around here. So fucking job creator Boba is like, come work for me.
Is it just me, or is the whole dialogue, the joke, everything is just, and I don't know if it's just Tamura, like, in his acting. Everything just seems so fucking wooden to me with him. And like, even when he's sitting on the throne, he's like sitting up so straight and he's trying to be like casual, or even when he's got his helmet on, he's like, well, that's a bit heavy handed. Don't you think? I don't know what it is about this series. And I've been trying to like hold off judgment and like reserve my judgment or whatever, but I just don't know. I don't know if it's him fucking this whole... I think he's a man of few
words, and we're not expecting that, right? Like, because there's a lot about Boba. Yeah, there's a lot about Boba that's in our heads.
I think that's
true. We have to get over.
There's a couple things going on. One, he sighs after almost like every third sentence. So he'll say, bring me the pikes. Like he does this thing after.
Is that his weakness? Right? Is there there's some purpose for his fucking back to tank? He's in it all the time.
Yeah, it could be, but also even there was a story I saw where even he said, I have too many lines. I talk too much. He said that. He was telling Favreau, I don't think I should be saying this many lines, essentially. He was trying to give lines away to, like, Fennec should probably be saying this, not me. Yeah, so I think even he thinks there's some mystery that could be maintained if he said less.
Right, yeah.
It's just, I don't know. After 3 episodes, it's just not fucking doing it for me.
No?
To be honest with you. I don't know. It seems like there were 3 episodes in. We haven't really done anything. He hasn't really done anything. I mean, a couple things, a couple flashbacks. It's just, I know it's a lot of setup too, but like,
the Tusken storyline has been the best thing for me. The rest of it has been kind of like waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, I couldn't even say that. Like, I didn't even care for the Tusken storyline. Like, I mean, yeah, there's some rich back history there, but like, I don't know, that just everything just seems to miss. Everything seems forced. The dialogue, like the fight choreography, the special effects, the chase scene.
He doesn't seem to be. It is kind of strange, like thinking about it. Like he's not pursuing the fact that he's like taken over as a crime lord. It's like he waits till something happens. He's like, well, let's go walk over there and we'll go have a conversation. Like, there should be, like, if you take over as a crime lord, you think there's going to be, some meetings with people.
He's finding out that being a crime lord is not necessarily what he thought it was, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's a different job than he was expecting.
Right.
So he's trying to kind of find his footing, I think. And there's a lot of trial and error, I think. And it's funny because then he kind of gets them out of trouble because he pays off. What's that guy's name again? Lortha? He pays him off less than he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fennec's like, come on, follow us. And so they get on there. Can we call them speeder bikes?
I would call them sand Vespas.
Okay. Most Vespa. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Most Vespa.
And so that's when we go back to the flashback to Tank.
Yep.
So we get this dream sequence again on Kamino where it's Daniel Logan watching, it's Boba watching
Jango Fett leave.
Yeah, fly off and Slave One. So that they keep going back to that, which means that there's got to be something brewing there. That's why I thought the whole Daniel Logan, potential involvement at some point might happen, just because they keep showing that scene.
I'm wondering if that's going to all tie into something. It's either going to be pretty goddamn quick. Otherwise, I wonder if that's like foreshadowing to where we're going to end up leading into the second season.
It could, yeah. Or maybe they're trying to do something with that Bad Batch stuff in Omega. We've talked about that before.
You know what it is? Kamino is probably you know how everyone's got like a sister city across the other side of the world?
Right? They stole their water?
Yeah. Like someone pulled the plug on Tatooine and all drained down to Kamino.
Spaceballs again. She went from suck to blow.
Mystery solved. Question of the week.
It was Mega Made.
Yeah.
But then we switch to he's riding a Bantha. And he's leaving the Tusken village, like, hey guys, I'll be back. See you later. But at this point, we don't know what he's doing. And he goes into Mos Eisley, and that's when we have the little exchange with the Jawas. He's looking for the Pikes. And that's where it gets interesting, because that scene where he goes by, speaking of Pikes, spikes, all the Stormtrooper helmets on the spikes, which is exactly what we saw in The Mandalorian in season 1. Mm-hmm. And that made me think timing-wise, so the guy's literally putting one on a spike when we see Boba go by. Are those the same fucking spiked helmets that we see 4 years or 5 years later?
Yeah.
Because there's a gap of time there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's when we see Pelimoto in the background, which I think some people missed the first time.
I saw it like right away, and I was like, what the hell? And it was just blurry enough to be like, oh, that's not her. Like, it's her, but it wasn't her playing. I don't think it was. Amy Sedaris.
You don't think it was her?
I don't know if it was Amy Sedaris or not.
And maybe. I mean, it could have been somebody else, but it certainly looked like her. Mm-hmm. They're tying all that together. Nice little shout out to her. But it just made me wonder about the timing, that those things are just sitting there that long, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And then he shows up to the old Pike Fort, makes his way in. He's like the tax collector.
He's like, hey, sit down. And there's nowhere for him to sit. He's like, everything's got like, I looked at the table, like, where does he want him to sit?
Like the stairs.
There's like hookah pipes and everything like all over the place. I don't know.
And like, he's got these two guys standing behind him that's just guarding him like he's the emperor. Fucking give them a seat.
Well, and he's lounging back there, and he does that little thing with his drink. He keeps swirling his drink around. It's just it's this weird exchange. That guy was a weird dude. That Pike.
And he's got like the stand virus. Like that neck is like minutes from exploding.
Yeah,
his
lymph nodes are a little. Yeah, his lymph nodes are a little swole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's when he's like, we don't want to pay two people. And then you find out that the Kintan, is it Kintan? Is that what they called? Striders? That's basically the bike gang that was the Niktos that we saw, that they've been charging.
So
he's already kicked their ass once.
True, go ahead.
What's the Nikto? You said they're wearing Niktos. What's that?
No, Nikto is the guy. That's what those creatures are. The bike gang that he kicked the shit out of last episode.
Oh, okay, because he calls them the Nikto Sand Riders. I wrote that down because there was a disparity. Like the Kintan Striders were collecting the fees, and then Boba Fett's like, you won't have any problems with those Nikto Sand Riders.
Right, it's the same. They're one and the same. So when I looked it up, the Kintan Striders is meant to be those guys. But also, what's weird is when I looked it up, there was something about the Kintan Striders that was one of the creatures on the Hollow Chess game. and it's like this big brooded guy.
Yeah.
They're from the same world, so I don't know how I don't know how that ties together. I read it very quickly, so I didn't get all the details.
They're the ones that are tagging everything with the double J or whatever,
yes.
LJ or whatever.
It's actually a K for
Krrsantan.
Kintan. Yeah, I thought it was the double J too, but they said that's the symbol is actually a K. I guess I can't really make it out with the way they do it unless it's
I guess if the K is pointing up, yeah.
Perhaps I don't know. I'm not sure what that means. But what was odd to me there too is the Pikes are portrayed as these badass motherfuckers in animation. Like, remember how scary they were in Bad Batch? They're like, oh, don't fuck with the Pikes, you're gonna die. Like anybody couldn't do it, and now they're having to pay for protection.
Well, I think because like it's not their world, right? So there's not very many of them. I think there's enough set up to run the smuggling ring or whatever, so they're paying for passage, right?
I get that, but I still think the way they were explained and described in Bad Batch made it sound like nobody fucked with them, like you knew better.
Well, I think that's still true because it seems to be by the end of the episode, they're like, oh, okay, we'll just send more.
Right. And that could also have been the whole play was just to like, we're going to pay somebody, but in the end, we know we're going to get what we want. So you guys can all fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boba says, I'll take care of this. I'll resolve this. And so he takes his slow ride on the Bantha back to the village and oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, Tuskens, they just can't light a match anywhere, can they?
Has Anakin been here? My question. Anyone seen a petulant teenager walking around with a braid coming down the left side of his face?
Couple things. One, you really only see the chief. You don't see the kid, and you don't see the warrior.
Right.
So they must have survived, right? We're going to see them later.
I'm thinking so. Yeah.
I thought the warrior was the one. Didn't he burn her staff and her rifle? Wasn't she the one that was on that they? You saw one. I saw one sitting up against a tent. Like, as he walked past it, you could see the back of his head. Mm-hmm. And then I thought that was her laying on the ground. That was the chief?
No, that was the chief.
That was the chief. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I don't remember seeing the kid either. So I feel like both those could be alive. And I don't know if I mentioned that last episode or not, but I felt you felt like something bad was going to happen to those Tuskens at some point. And it was a matter of who was going to die out of those three, the big three.
So who did it? Pikes or the biker gang?
So that's a good question because it's meant to look like the biker gang, but to quote what's his name, Ben Kenobi in A New Hope, it's meant to look like the Tuskens. In this case, meant to look like the Riders, the Striders, whatever the hell they are.
From a certain point of skew.
Yeah, but perhaps it was someone else and not them after all. That's what I wondered about too. Was that actually them that did this?
Maybe you should check the Bantha tracks to see if they're side by side, or check the blasting points to see if they're too precise for stormtroopers.
Yeah, I love that. The best part of that whole thing, the stormtroopers are way more precise, and you're like,
are they?
That's all going to be disproven pretty quick.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn standing fucking 5 feet away.
Yeah, but Obi-Wan never dealt with the stormtroopers much as he dealt with the clones, and the clones were better.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah, excellent point.
So it gives some truth to the way he felt about them. Yeah.
Yeah. So he burns the bodies. Burns the weapons, including that little stick, was that the stick that he first grabbed and almost beat the kid with and then ended up fighting the warrior with? Is that what that stick was?
That's what it was, yeah.
I thought that's what that was. And also, is the fucking gecko alive? Like, how are we going to get high?
Yeah, no shit. What if I need to go spirit questing for Burning Man, you know?
The kid had it.
Kid's got the gecko?
The kid was raiding Dad's drawers the night before. He was like, I'm going to get high on this.
I wonder if the gecko
happened. Yeah.
The gecko sees whoever's coming in to kill them and then just jumps in somebody's nose to hide.
Hey, hashtag show. Put this down. Next week they're announcing the gecko is getting his own spinoff.
Oh, man. Talk about the worst alarm clock ever.
Yeah.
Black Krrsantan.
Krrsantan.
I was going to ask you guys, because you guys have floated. Do you feel like the Bacta tank has the same vulnerability, that feeling of just like you're laying there and anybody at any time could come up and just really do something to you?
When I was in it, I told you that the second time when you and I went, we weren't in the same room, but I thought someone came in the room. So yeah, you feel all of a sudden you're like looking and you're like, you're supposed to be like out of it, meditating, feeling real good. And then all of a sudden you're like, that fucking door's going to open up.
I was too busy in there playing. Yeah. It's supposed to be relaxing, but it's like when a kid gets put down for a nap.
Yeah. I'll go steal his clothes.
I was farting in the tub and trying to bite the bubbles.
Yeah, so he drains him out, starts chucking him around while Bo was wearing his adult diaper.
Yep.
And sorry. Boba is getting his fucking ass kicked and should be in way worse shape by the end of this. Like, there's a point where his bones are cracking.
Well, yeah, and like he takes electric knuckles to the fucking face and it leaves not even a mark.
And he's fucking covered he looks like he's a brand new, right out of the Matrix baby, fucking hairless, and he's got a big adult diaper on, and I'm just like, what's going on?
It's like he's beating an otter. I looked at his adult diaper he had on, and it looked like he had like a weird belt. But then it hit me. Were those weights to keep him down in the water?
Ah, that could be. I didn't think about that.
It looked like similar to what Luke was wearing in his tank.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, good. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I wondered how he was surviving that. And unless maybe, I'm just going to call him BK because it gets hard to say Black Krrsantan every time. Unless he was just giving him a chiropractic adjustment. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Well, God, my back feels so much better.
They were friends before. But
yeah.
That was foreshadowed in the last episode where the Hutt said sleep lightly.
Yeah.
And then this is when he shows up and he's taking a little nappy nap.
You guys got any nicknames for the team, like Aqua Team Hunger Force that shows up? Like, get them, guys. One of them's swinging a yo-yo. The other one's got like a fucking
yo-yo
pogo stick that comes into a knife. I was trying to think of like a little superhero team name for them, and I couldn't come up with anything. But they like just showed up.
I thought it was more like the Jets or the Sharks, like they were going to come in snapping and like doing a song and dance number.
Dude, I hit the same exact thing.
There we go.
I thought Outsiders maybe. Like I was thinking of the Outsiders, like the Soches or the Greases.
If they would have broken the song, I'd have shut it off. All right, you lost me.
In they come.
And then the Gamorreans come in.
Yeah.
And BK puts like the best football form tackle on them ever. Like takes out both of them and rides them down the stairs into the throne room. That was a nice little move by him.
That seemed a little aggressive. Like maybe that's the arch nemesis of the Wookiee because he's like just standing there kind of taking the electrical rods and everything coming at him. She's shivving him a couple of times with a prison shank. Nothing. He turns and sees those two and just fucking goes red. He just goes after him. I was like, okay.
I didn't notice this the first time, but that he sticks him with his gaffy stick and it's hanging on to him the whole time.
He comes back and grabs it out of him. Yep. He's a strong motherfucker.
I think it's in the throne room where one of the Gamorreans stabs him in the back of the leg or something, and that's where you hear the chewy, like, that's where you actually hear that Wookiee sound you're used to.
That's it. So then he's like hanging by a thread. So Fennec gets the wise notion to put him into the Rancor pit, right?
Yep.
And he's hanging by the thread of his fingernails, and she just throws and like, step on his fingers, don't waste your little dagger. She whips her dagger into his hand.
I thought of that too.
Yeah.
So. It's like Boba's backpack missile. She's got a ton of them in the back of the room, so she's good.
Unlimited supply.
Yeah.
Endless supply. And then he shows up in his silk robe, like he just like got up because somebody rang the doorbell in the middle of the night. What the fuck was that look?
Pardon me, I had to brush my teeth.
Flossing. I'll be down in a minute.
Down in a minute. I gotta brush my teeth. And Robert Rodriguez is up here. We're gonna write a song together.
The shit is, why didn't anyone tell me we were gonna have company? You needed a one-liner there. A good,
Then we get to the feast scenes because he's now BK is down in the dungeon, so he's pissed off. They've got him captured.
This is such a this scene didn't even need to exist. Like I get what she says, but I'm like, for what? Like she's eating a fucking chicken leg
with her gloves on.
Yeah.
COVID.
And he's apparently
grease all over your gloves.
Apparently he's fasting because he's had enough of this food.
She's like, these are brand new. The grease breaks them in, Matt. It's crazy.
Well, it is also. I don't know if you saw the spread of all the different food that was out there, but there was like some sort of squid type thing. There was like a fish, and I'm thinking, okay, this is like if you were like in the middle of Iowa and ordered the fresh halibut. Like there's no seafood anywhere near this place. How are they getting that?
Well, I don't know, because even if it's flash frozen, it's got to come into another planet, right? From another planet. And apparently you have to walk it to the fucking palace. So it's already, it's already thawed out by the time it's getting to the gate there. So
that run up you see to the palace, there's a sign down at the bottom that says no vehicles, no motorized vehicles. So that's when he finds out that, the mayor's, they got to go see the mayor is what they decide. But before they do that, the twins show up. With the twins. Did you see that thing going around? Somebody edited the Coors Light commercial. And it's that one, love.
Twins.
Yeah, and it's and the guy keeps saying, and twins. And it keeps showing them flashing on. It's pretty funny. It's a nice cut.
I gotta check that out.
But yeah, they show up. And this is weird. This whole exchange is bizarre. And it certainly lends itself to the fact that this is all a setup.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, sorry, we tried to kill you. We tried to have Black Krrsantan kill you. Our bad. So we're going to give you this like sedated Rancor. And it's Danny Trejo.
Right.
Johnny 23.
Yep.
Welcome aboard, Machete.
I mean, right away, like you see him in the distance, and you're like, that's Danny Trejo. Like he's an unmistakable guy. Like you can't miss him. But why would they be giving him this gift? Because then the next thing you know, he comes out and brings out Black Krrsantan and is like, here, you can have this guy back. You guys got to get the fuck out of here, which they're like, that's fine with us because we were double crossed. And it turns out there's another syndicate that's been given kind of reign over this territory by the mayor. So, of course, we're going to find out later that that's the Pikes, maybe. But he's like, you know what? Keep the Wookiee. You should sell him. So it's like, why would you guys show up and do any of this stuff? This doesn't make any sense.
And so I immediately thought life debt from the Wookiee. Like he was going to like, free him. And then the Wookiee's going to be like, I owe you a life debt like Han and Chewie, right?
Fuck.
But immediately he just goes, okay, jogs off.
But I think you'll see him. I think he's coming back again. I think I almost feel like he's going to join Team Fett.
He will join Team Fett, or at least he's going to save his ass when he needs it at some point.
Yeah. I wonder if the life. Yeah. I wonder if
that's what I thought was going to happen, but it didn't come up.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout.
Yet.
He gives over this Rancor, which I think people at first, of course, are again going, is it Moochie? It's not Moochie.
Right.
I have it in my notes. Is it Moochie?
It's not. But then we get this whole explanation. There's like all this, backstory given on Rancors by Danny Trejo, basically saying how they're actually very peaceful. They only get violent when they're threatened. And
all of a sudden he's the Rancor whisperer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The witches of death.
But to go back real quick to when the Hutts were there before they left, they basically kind of allude like there's a war coming, it's bad for business. But then even Boba's like, well, that doesn't make any sense because they want this. So
they never denounce. They can never go so far as to denounce their claim either. They're just like, he's like, if you denounce this, I'll give you this, and blah blah. And they're like, we're leaving Tatooine. You should too.
Oh, I think the Hutts they're smart enough to know like we'll just let these fucking Pikes come deal with them, and then we'll just come back and take what's ours.
Scraps.
Yeah,
could be. There's something's afoot because it doesn't make any sense why they would just do this and give him all this shit and be like, peace out. No, why would they bother?
Something's slithering because of the Hutts.
It's funny you say Slytherin because one of those members of the street gang I thought was a member of like fucking Hufflepuff or something with that jacket he was wearing, but we'll get into that later.
It's a robe.
So Trejo just kind of keeps telling him all this stuff about it. Obviously, Boba is just enamored with this thing. He's like rubbing it behind the ears. Does that feel good? I knew Cole would not like that. That was not on our DMs. I said there's a part that I think Cole's gonna really hate. It was the street gang. It wasn't so much this part. I thought the street gang would have just driven you nuts, and that was my assumption of the
which part of the street gang?
Just them in general.
Okay.
The slow speed
existence.
bikes.
Okay.
Their vibe. I just figured you usually have an issue with young punks in Star Wars.
Stay off my lawn. Oh man.
Like Mart, he had to grow on you. But at first, like little shithead. But Trejo, the way he's laying it out, he's like, what do you say? They imprint on the first human they see or first person they see or something. And the way he has him stand in front of it, this is like, and then when Boba leaves, he's like, don't worry, he'll be back.
So do you think it's a setup? Do you think like they're using the Rancor to kill him?
Yes, it's something like that. This is a total
fuck!
setup.
I didn't even think about that. And then also,
I was wondering if this is going to be like a reverse on Return of the Jedi, like where they slowly, like how Luke slowly puts all the pieces into getting Han back. I was wondering if this is reverse, where they're slowly the Hutts or whoever are slowly putting things around Boba to kill him.
I think it's got to be something like that. Trejo's got to be a plant.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how it doesn't. It just doesn't make sense on the surface what's happening.
Well, also he did the whole thing like if it's true where you identify them by the first human unit. So he does it with his helmet off. So if he's gonna be wearing his helmet around the Rancor's gonna be like, "Who the fuck is this cat?" You know what I mean?
He'll smell him.
See, I didn't even think about that. That's pretty smart. Like to put the Rancor in there.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a Boba versus the Rancor fight. Maybe that'll give us some fucking action. Won't be clunky as fuck. Maybe
he wants to ride that thing, and who knows? We might get to see him ride it at some point. But I just think that whole setup looks fishy, and then I think it's meant to take him down in some fashion.
Bubba's already got a saddle for the Rancor ordered off of Amazon.
He does.
So what happens? Oh, they decide to go visit the mayor now, right?
Yep, another walk.
Yeah, another long walk, but the street gang's following them along on their bikes at a nice slow pace, and they're greeted by the Major Domo again. Hello. And he's like, his schedule's booked. And then she's like, I'm going to basically a Fennec again. I'm going to fucking kill you. He's like, okay, no, there's something opened up.
He's basically booked for the next 20 days or something?
Yeah.
It's so
like
ridiculous.
That, 20 days. Yeah. So he goes back into the office and locks the door and tries to escape. And they bust through there, and then he goes flying out on that exactly like Han Solo's speeder in Solo on Corellia. And this chase goes off, and it is tough to enjoy.
Yes.
It should have been way faster. It should have been, there should have been like more stakes. There should have been like, I feel like if you're going to have that guy fly off, then 2 of those guards should have been with him shooting at those people or something. Like there should have been more that he was doing, except for just being like this crazy old man driving his Oldsmobile and can't keep the car on the road.
I wonder if this is showing the limitations of the volume.
Maybe.
Like it's really weird. Like there was no like sense of urgency to this whole thing, right?
No.
Like the speed did not feel right. Those bikes just were silly. They don't come off threatening at all, even with their, hyper fucking go-go gadget arms and legs.
Servo foot.
Yeah.
A servo foot on the Cadillac's fender. Like, you're really taking it down.
The second time I'm watching that was when I realized like he had just a pogo leg that was going in and out. I thought it was just like he was kicking it and he had a spike on his heel. Then I realized, the whole leg is fake. Yeah.
They got a lot of fake parts. Her arm is weird. The fact that it's got like a real hand.
I know. Yeah, I thought that. I was like, okay, well, that's just a weird design.
Strange. But yeah, you might be right about the volume. We've joked before about how like in scenes in The Mandalorian when they're making the walk on Navarro or whatever, they're going at a real slow pace because they can't go too fast or they'll literally like walk into the wall.
Right. Yeah.
And so maybe that's part of it. I know there's practical sets they use. There's that lot they used for the shootout scene at the end of season 1 where Moff Gideon tracks them down to that bar. Like that's an actual practical set.
Right. And so is this town. I mean, the whole rooftop jumping and all this stuff. So they built a lot of that. And I think that's why we spent so much time there. Right.
Yes.
They get some money out of this. So I get like, this is a very cost effective series, but in the end, like this, ILM can do better than this. So it just like it surprised me. And I don't know what the budget is on this, but and like you look at the first season of Mandalorian and there were some like times where we questioned, and I mean you can see in the second season the money went into special effects and not building it because they had to build everything for the first show, right?
Right.
So I wonder if it's some of that. But yeah, we need shit to amp up a little bit and look a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, maybe they saved all the money for the second half.
Right.
So we're going to see a lot more in the second half. It did, I will say, the chase scene, if it was a little faster, even it being sort of slow, reminded me of Rebels on Lothal. The like street vendors crashing into stuff, kind of goofy. It had that Rebels feeling, all the way down to the fact that in the end, the Major Domo gets spun out by Sophie Hatcher's character, Drash is her name, and smashes into a cart of Meilurons.
I was going to ask you, did you catch that? It was Meilurons that he falls into.
What are Meilurons?
The fruit that
Hera sends them to get them on Lothal.
Oh, okay.
So they keep coming up in Rebels.
It just that whole shot reminded me of the chase in Back to the Future, and then Biff's car crashes into the manure and it falls on him.
He calls himself Captain Meiluron at one point during Rebels.
Okay.
It's kind of just like a little inside joke.
Okay.
It's like the litter joke that they keep visiting.
Yep. And like you said, that's where we actually see Boba land on his jetpack. And you're like, oh, he does
work.
Use it.
Yeah, why didn't he just trail him the entire way? And then when he stops, just like drop down and be like, hey.
Yeah, he doesn't seem very assertive, right? For a bounty hunter, he's not really engaging. But maybe he's like, well, let's see if these guys are worth the 25 cents I'm paying him a day.
Exactly. I was going to say that it's his new workers. He's got to evaluate them.
Maybe he's got diaper rash. Who knows?
But the mayor or whatever, the Major Domo says the mayor's working with the Pikes. And so at that point, you also think, okay, is this all true? Is the Major Domo selling out the mayor? Is the Major really working with the Pikes, or is, you know what I mean? Like maybe I'm looking too much into some of these exchanges.
You're trying to see if there's a twist coming that we're not they're presenting it differently than the truth.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
I was like, it's not exactly 100% right what he's saying. I don't know, because you do see the Pikes then land at the spaceport and all get off looking all badass. And that's when that Scad guy, that's the other guy's name, the guy's name with the eye.
Yes.
He reports back to Fennec and Boba and is like, the Pikes are here. There's a dozen or so of them. And
that's where they realize they're going to war.
Yes. And he says, and we need to be ready. So that's all just like, let's launch the last 4 episodes of craziness. Right. So that's why I'm hopeful for episode 4 and going forward, is that they've laid all this groundwork and all these storylines are in place.
Yes.
Even if they were kind of clunky to get there in some ways. But now, like, this should all really start fucking taking off.
Well, and now what's episode 4 going to be? Like, how they get ready? Like, what's he got in his back pocket at this point? Is this where he maybe recruits the Mandalorian? Because there's rumors he shows up in an episode. There's like, what's the giggles for?
Oh no, I'm laughing because it's going to be like, oh god, MacGruber. He's going to go assemble this team and they're all going to blow up. Did you see that movie?
No, but like Deadpool, where he puts together the X-Force and then they all die.
Oh, is that the same thing?
And Deadpool too? Yeah.
Oh, because MacGruber, that happens. He
Okay.
puts together this elite team and then like they're all in like a van or something and the thing gets blown up. He's like, no! they spend 25 minutes with him going through and putting this team together.
So this is exactly like Deadpool 2 then. Yep.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
So what's next? Yeah, like you said, we talked about Black Krrsantan coming into the mix at some point. That might be later in the season.
I just don't feel like you pull that guy out and then just let him run away and not see him again.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah.
Maybe not till the finale, but he'll come back this season.
So, and we really don't know what's going on with the crime syndicates, right? So are some of them at war with each other? What's going on? Like, what's the reason for because the Hutts, as far as we've always known, is they're kind of ruthless, right? They're not going to just like give up their territory. So for them to move out, then let the Pikes in, it seems like it's for strategy, not because it's bad for business, because war is usually pretty good for business.
Yeah, I think the line you pulled out is the one that to latch onto, and that is Boba saying it's in their best interest for their enemies to be fighting each other. And so they've planted these seeds. They've got this potential Trojan horse Rancor in Boba's palace that's going to fuck that up. And between the two things, it's all going to go haywire, and they're going to try to come in and sweep up when there's just ashes left. That's what I think they're trying to. That's their play anyway.
You think Boba should just Google like the nature of Rancor? See if
see
Johnny 23 is lying to him.
YouTube videos. He's like, oh shit.
They'd call me Johnny 700 if they knew the truth.
You just need a big door. You can kill those Rancors. I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah.
He starts looking up garage doors.
And then I also thought about, are the Pikes really the only bad guys here, or is there more? Are we going to get some Crimson Dawn action? Is something else happening?
They never named the syndicate that took over.
Right. And that was it just because they're, I think the same thing. Like we think the Pikes, I think there's something else.
I think they were too vague. Like they were too vague about saying I'm not going to relinquish my territory. Mm-hmm. They were vague about who the other syndicate was. So they're definitely playing some fuck games. So.
And I think maybe with the flashback to Tank, we'll get a little bit more of the story of what he set up with the Pike saying we're not going to pay 2 people for protection. So we might get a little more backstory on their role,
which might go into because we still have to find out like what are they running the fucking Coors bullet train for with a bunch of spice on it? Like why do they have spice on Tatooine? And I'm wondering if that's going to play. That's a lot of money involved, right? Like that's if that's happening on Tatooine and no one knows. Like what's really happening and who's in control of that?
Yep. I'd like to see a flashback, or not necessarily a flashback, but maybe a montage of the skinny Hutts and then how they became my 600-pound life. Just cut to them what they're eating, how they're just watching TV. Maybe not ever.
Well, we've seen that one scene where they must. We know why Jabba got fat. Jesus, man, all that food. It's like yells at the R2, "Stop bringing me food."
Go check on the patrol.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Boba knows where that's heading. So.
Yeah, it was gut.
Exactly. I think the only other thing I was going to say is just, are we ever going to go off world?
I don't know, man. I was really hopeful we would, even like in a flashback or something. But if there's a war coming, the only way they leave world is finally he goes on the, what do we call it now? The fire spray, not the slave one. I don't know if it's got a new name or not, but if he like goes and, hey, I need some help. Because apparently he doesn't have a freaking telephone he can get a hold of anybody.
Yeah, that may be why. That may be why he leaves, is to go recruit.
So we'll get an episode or two before we go back to the Tatooine to finish up the story.
Yeah. I fired up that episode and I saw 39 minutes again or whatever. And I was like, damn it.
I know. I do too. Even though I'm like, I mean, there's still a lot in this show. Like, I know I'm giving it shit, but I mean, there was still a few things I was like, but I'm still hopeful.
Yeah.
I'm interested by the character. You?
Right.
I'm not giving up on it yet.
Not yet.
It's been just I was expecting so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are contractually obligated. So
I understand. I'll put on a happy face.
All right, well, let us know what you think, listeners. Interested in your opinions. Speaking of the listeners, let's go to the Maul Bag.
I love the Maul Bag.
Hello there.
You've got mail.
Okay.
I laugh every time.
I know.
I love it. It's our trademark now.
All right, we got 3 emails. Thank you so much. Email number 1 is from Brian Hour. He sent this just before chapter 3, FYI, just so it'll make more sense what he's talking about. Greetings, scoundrels. First off, I would like to wish Cole a speedy recovery.
Thank you, Brian.
I admire his dedication to meeting the spreadsheet deadlines, though I do think that the Wookiee Poo Cantina needs to be named the Greasy Fist going forward. do you remember that? You described the feeling of a greasy fist in your belly. That was a funny.
I used that, and then the doctor's like, "Oh, you should be a poet." Like, that's such a good use of words. Like, just shut the fuck up and give me some more morphine.
Just have more Gatorade? Okay.
Right, yeah, just no one noticed I was drinking a Gatorade
We're
either.
looking forward to the release of
the official drink of the show.
Blueberry.
He said, we all know Cole will do anything to stop the stagnation and weight loss, and now see he is at the getting rid of extra organs phase.
Yes.
Got a whole ounce and a half with my appendix.
Yeah,
out.
you didn't need that appendix. You don't need your gallbladder, really. So is that next?
Well, let's fingers crossed.
It was really bariatric surgery. You got your stomach stapled.
Don't start that rumor.
On to the Book of Boba Fett, and the discussion is discussion if he is a hero / anti-hero or not. I've always seen him as the opposite of Han. Han was never into it for the cause of the glory. He was in it for the money. In fact, he literally says that in A New Hope, Brian. I'm not in it for your rebellion. I'm in it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
That is until he fell in love with a princess and had a life-altering stay in Carbonite for about a year. Boba Fett was originally slated to be the Imperial version of Han. Not into the Imperial cause, just in it for the money, but like Han, he has now suffered a traumatic life-altering event. There you go. Surviving a Jedi, a Sarlacc, and now the Tuscans. Being like Han, then I would assume his internal honor code would not let him be in someone's debt. I would bet that the taking over of Jabba's area in and around Mos Espa is going to be a repayment on the debt he feels he has for the Tuscans, and when fulfilled, he and Fennec will head off in Slave One to adventures in our favorite galaxy far, far away. Well, he hadn't watched chapter 3 yet because the Tuscans got decimated.
Yeah.
Well, maybe but that could still his little theory could still pan out. You know, he's doing it for like the memory of them, right? Or because he thinks it's right or honorable, or whoever wipes him out, right? He goes after him.
And the warrior and the kid are still around, we think.
He's got a kid. He's got a kinship to them.
Another lone wolf and cub running around out there.
Yeah, spin-off series.
Yep.
Cougar and a cub. Sorry.
Don't be.
Your humble listener, Brian Hour. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Email number 2 from Ty from the 2 on 3 pod on hiatus. Fuckers.
I know.
Unlike some, I'm really enjoying Book of Boba Fett. I love to learn more about the normal non-galactic war stuff going on in the galaxy, and I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Yeah.
I think the side stories are fun.
I figured like he would be in my corner to poo-poo on this with me, but no, he's now he fucking flips the script and goes, "I can't get a read on you, Ty."
You can't. Yeah, you can't.
That said, the chase scene in the most recent episode just looked atrocious. If I was in the director's chair, I would have cut it, no matter how much it cost. Just having the Major Domo crash and get caught right away. Assuming you agree with me, what would you have done with those 5 minutes? Blown out one of the other scenes, added an additional scene. Help me fix the standout weak point of the series so far.
I would have had Boba go collect some Melu runs, bring him back to the palace. They could all eat, and then we'd spend 3 minutes watching them do his dental routine. Wash, brush his
So
teeth.
just take the chase out altogether.
Let's take out the chase altogether.
All right. I think the vehicles need to look like they actually, like, even when they turned them, for starters, it looked like, you know, when you're at the fair when you're a kid and all you want is the fucking handlebars to turn a little bit when you're leaning, so it feels like you're doing something. The handlebars didn't even lean. Like, every time I saw it, it was just like they were locked into place, and the way the fucking thing turned, it was so ridiculous. I know it's not physically possible to fucking levitate and fucking jet across the sand anyways, but at least they've made it look relatively believable before.
They have hovercrafts, Jason.
They sure do. But this was like, no. They weren't.
Yeah, I think the chase was fine. But like I said before, I think if you had more speed and if maybe somebody died and if you had the guards with the Major Domo or something that just made the stakes higher, I think it would have been more interesting. It just felt like this inevitable ending that were like, why are we doing this? Like, where are you going? You're not going to escape. You know what I mean? That's how it felt to me. I just thought it could have been executed better.
Agreed.
Let's see. So also getting mad about the Rancor is very dumb. Of course you could tame it. Even attack dogs have a master. Are people mad about the Rancor being tamed? Is that something that's floating around out there?
I don't know. I was wondering what that was coming from. Like, who said something about being mad about the Rancor?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything on that. I'm trying to think back to what was the point of Misty or Mufsty or what's that fucking...
Moochie.
Yeah, what was the point of Moochie when they had him captured? Were they going to tame those Rancors, or were they just... oh, no, that was Bib Fortuna that was like buying a new one, right?
Yeah, he bought
Wasn't he? He was in the market?
Mm-hmm, he was. Yeah, because the slavers or whatever, the Zygerian slavers or whatever, the ones who had him, I don't know that they had a plan for him. So yeah, but Bib ends up buying him. So I think he was meant to be the replacement for the previous Rancor. So Bib was probably going to train him to be a killer. Even in Return of the Jedi, I mean that he had a Wrangler. He had
and that guy
Maliki
cried when he
or whatever his
died.
name
Like
is.
he loved his little Rancor.
Yeah. So have you ever seen that fanfic on that the origin story of that?
That sounds familiar. Years ago, I think. Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's that guy.
Mhm.
Is it Maliki or it's not whatever his name is? He finds like an egg in a cave and like raises the thing, and then Bib comes and finds it and wants to buy it. It's actually kind of well done for it being just like a fanfic thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. And then that was it from Ty. Thank you, Ty, very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ty.
And finally,
Shocker.
Hi, I'm Date Mike. Nice to meet me. Hey, Mike. Everybody hates you. Everybody wishes that you were dead.
Mike Laybourne. Evening, Mr. Parsons, Mr. Brevis, and Mr. From Reasons Are Several. Chapter 3 of the book of Roberta Flack introduced us to the Trust Fund Power Rangers.
Nice.
No jobs, no money, but flashy rides and expensive droid bits. Their parents must be proud. Hey,
That's true.
Maybe their parents are all dead, Mike. Did you ever think about that?
Right.
Yep.
Do you ever think about the fact that maybe Jabba or Bib or something had their parents murdered? God, have a fucking heart.
Jeez.
My question is, if you could replace any body part with a droid bit, oh boy, what would you replace it with? Obviously for Cole, it's a new appendix, but what about the rest of the team?
May the Schwartz be with you.
I think Cole would replace his middle finger with a lightsaber so he could flip off Mike even more.
That's a good idea.
Could you imagine if you had a lightsaber for a dick?
I mean, I could imagine it, but you're not really going to have that much fun with it, right?
Yeah, it'd be torture. You couldn't do anything with it. Don't touch it.
Not a whole lot of callbacks after the first.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I've impaled every woman I've slept with.
I mean, that's a specific kind of kink.
Yeah,
Really.
sure is.
She needs to have, oh God. She needs to have a Beskar vagina. That's probably it.
Oh,
You know what? I think I've met a couple of
my
those.
one true love.
A couple of those gals.
Oh, shit. I think I would consider having BB-8 balls for feet because then I could roll all over the place. I think that would be kind of fun.
Okay.
I mean, it'd probably get old, but
Yeah.
it'd be handy as fuck.
Hard getting up and downstairs. Be like Ed 209 from RoboCop.
Exactly. Hop, hop.
You went downstairs. You just have ramps everywhere you went.
Yeah.
Just got to go on my knees.
Let's go to a handicap accessible around everything.
I do want to know, like, is that covered by your insurance to get these new electrical appendages? Like, what's going on? How's this work? Is this?
I don't know if Blue Cross
Seems
Blue Shield
elective.
reaches
I was
out
just
to.
gonna say, is it elective?
I think it's elective. I think you're paying for that. I think you're paying extra. You might have like a pre-tax account, that you set
Right.
up the previous year in your open enrollment period.
An HSA.
Right. There you go. HSA.
Yeah, I doubt there's going to be there. I feel like there's a lot more back alley surgeons on Tatooine than there is
Right, yeah.
licensed medical providers.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get an abortion.
Well, I
Tatooine
feel like
pretty easy.
maybe they need to have a back alley abortionist. Get rid of some of these problems over there in Tatooine.
That's the cause. It's these damn kids.
I want to see this. I want to see the fight with like the dad when the kid comes home with like a new fucking go-go gadget arm. Oh, is that what you're spending your money on?
Yeah. Well, you kicked me out, Dad.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Boba's my real dad.
Could have brought that into why the seas all dried up too.
Why what?
I fucking totally just had a seizure. I totally blanked out what I was gonna say.
There's a lot of strokes happening on this
What
show
did you
today.
say? You said something a minute ago about
The go-go gadget
no.
insurance. HSA.
Did you
had a
just
really
say the
good-
seas all? What did you say?
The sea's all drying up on Tatooine. The ocean.
The seas.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought that was a word. Seas all. I'm like, what's
Oh.
the seas all? What does
It's
that
like
mean?
It's like a redneck saying seesaw. It's a seesaw.
Oh,
What did
man.
you just say? You just said something about it was like medical provider or something.
About having insurance to cover the procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I'll get back to you guys
Okay.
about a
All right.
month when I figure out what I was gonna say.
You know what? We'll post that as a supplementary episode of this show when Cole figures it out.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
Like a 45-second clip. Hey guys, Cole again. Just want to say.
I just remembered.
My show art will be just the ellipsis, 3 fucking dots. It's just me thinking.
I think that's it.
That's it. Huh?
Thanks for your Maul Bag entries. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Love you. Hugs and kisses on all your fake new parts.
Droid parts.
Yeah. Okay, so in the FACPAtoid, this episode right here, I found, and I don't think we've ever discussed this, and I've never seen this, but during shooting, I'm guessing this is The Force Awakens, Carrie Fisher slapped Oscar Isaac over 40 times on the first day of shooting.
What?
For what?
So yeah, like I'm trying to remember, like when did they get into it?
The Force Awakens, not Last Jedi.
Okay, maybe The Last Jedi. I'm sorry. Poe Dameron goes against General Leia orders in The Last Jedi, but not without consequence. Isaac
There
revealed
you
in an
go.
interview with Stephen Colbert that the scene in which Leia demotes Poe was a difficult one to get right, leading to the late actress slapping the younger star more than 40 times. What an honor.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, Last Jedi.
Yeah. Okay. The Force Awakens one I wouldn't have made as much sense.
It was a cutscene.
All right. Sometimes you got to have proper motivation. She wanted to let it out. She wanted to get him pissed off at her. Perhaps.
They say Jack Nicholson did the scene from A Few Good Men for Tom Cruise like 40 times in a row.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He did it for, everybody. Every time he was off camera, he just fucking like laid into it every single take.
Oh, yeah, you're saying when they shot it, like even when the coverage wasn't on him, he
Yes.
still did they didn't have to
Full
stand him.
voice.
Yeah.
Just like getting after it. Yeah.
Good for
That's what I
him.
heard. I think, what's his face? Weinberg. It was him. What's his name? No, you know, the actor.
Kiefer Sutherland.
No. The comedian.
Kevin Pollak.
Kevin Pollak. He,
Pollak.
I think, talked about it in an interview.
Okay.
He said how he's like, it was just amazing to work with him because
Yep.
it's just every take he is just like, boom. He's just like all in it. Because he said when he says, "You, Lieutenant Weinberg," he's like, I actually like shuddered, like, what? He's like, I don't think I knew that line was coming, that he was going to call him out specifically.
It scared him.
Why are you calling me out?
Kevin
I'm just
Pollak's
sitting
got
here,
some
man.
great stories.
Yeah.
He does some impressions too. He does
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Great impressions. Yeah.
I think he's got a podcast. But listen to it after you've listened, subscribed, and written a review to the FACPA podcast.
And brought in a new listener for double your entries.
There you go.
Ooh, there we go.
And with that, I want to thank all of you for listening and all of your friends that will be listening next week. Appreciate you. And until next time,
Never tell us the odds.
In our experience, you can't handle the truth.
we have spoken.
Monkey poo.